It's a big game because it's the next one, and it's the only one we got left on our schedule, you know, unless we win.
They're going to get our best shot this time, and I know we're going to get there. So
I think we're playing at a very high level right now.
You can't get all sideways, you know, thinking revenge.
We're in the playoffs at this point, so we don't need much more than that to get us, you know, excited and up for the game.
We're going to try to beat them just as bad as we would try to beat anybody else.
Any given Sunday, and hopefully we be that team that's, you know, winning on Sunday.
Well, there is the site of the next game on the schedule, the only game right now on the schedule, Mercedes-Benz Superdome. Take a look at the outside of the Gleaming Dome. Gleaming Dome? We welcome you here. Gleaming Dome? Gleaming? Mark might know a little something about the Gleaming Dome.
I see what you did there.
That's
a ball joke.
It's too easy. It's too easy. So we welcome you here. Friday edition of Philly Sports Talk brought to you by Comcast Business. I'm Amy Fiddle. We are joined by Dave Zangaro. Dave, you enjoyed that,
I like that joke. That was good. Great.
It's a Friday. We're having fun. I love it. It's a big one, obviously, on Sunday. Dave, you're heading out down to New Orleans tomorrow. There's been so much dissection, and it's not over-dissection because you can't over-dissect this matchup, but there's been so much dissection about what the Eagles need to do. They need to win X matchup in order to, you know, win this game, score enough points, you know, go on, so on and so forth. What are some of the matchups that you're looking for? Is it the one-on-one battle with like an Alshon Jeffrey and the secondary type of thing?
Yeah, I mean, there are those battles in this game, and the Eagles are going to need to play a really good game. I don't think they can play the way they played in Chicago last week and expect to beat this Saints team. It's just a better team, and that dome is a nightmare to play in. It's a tough place to go in and play a game. The Eagles need to win certain matchups, and let's take a look at them here. The first one is pretty obvious. Drew Brees, he's pretty good. The last time we saw Drew Brees, he threw for 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. It is important to remember this secondary is a lot different than the one he faced then. In that game, he was picking on Sidney Jones, who was injured, Devontae Bosby, Chandon Sullivan, who both aren't on the team anymore. So expect this secondary to be a little more competitive. They're going to need help. I mean, they're going to need the defensive line to get at Drew Brees, which isn't easy because he gets the ball out so quickly. But having Rasul Douglas-Avante and Cravon LeBlanc, those guys have played pretty well, so you feel a little more comfortable going into this game with those guys.
What does it say about their offensive line, though, the New Orleans Saints offensive line, where they're pretty banged up? I mean, 4 of their 5 starters, all except for Unger, their center, are injured right now. How banged up are they? Are they a real concern if you're a Saints fan?
I think so, and you can see Armstead there, the second matchup. He has a pec injury that's been lingering. He came back in week 16, but he had to leave early. So we'll see how healthy he is. That's something to watch because Michael Bennett's been a monster, and he's been injured too, but he's been fighting through it. He's been their most consistent defensive end. So that's a matchup to watch. If Armstead's in there, he doesn't have all the strength back in his pec, that could be a big advantage for the Eagles. So watch their left tackle in that game.
You know, the one thing that jumped out on me there has been is Lane Johnson. Lane Johnson has basically been tasked with stopping some of the premier pass rushers the last really 5 to 6 weeks when you go back to J.J. Watt and Khalil Mack, obviously, last week.
Ryan Kerrigan,
obviously the Redskins last game of the season. Cam Jordan, where does he fall on that list with the Aaron Donalds and the Khalil Macks?
He's a really good player. I don't want to slight him because he's been a good player for a long time. He's not to that level. He's not Khalil Mack. He's not J.J. Watt, but he's a really good player. And he can hurt you if you think that he's not that good because he's 12 sack guy, double-digit sack guy, so he can hurt you. The Eagles have to hope Lane Johnson never makes another Pro Bowl because this guy, since he got snubbed, has been playing lights out. Yeah. Really the best we've seen him all year. I think he's finally healthy. Early in the year, he wasn't healthy, so I think we're seeing a healthy Lane Johnson.
The ankle, the knee. I mean, he was dealing with all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, that goes a long way.
Yeah, certainly. One of the other matchups I wanted to get into with you is this is the second straight week now. The Eagles are facing a former Giants cornerback. Prince Amukamara against the Chicago Bears last week, and then this week Eli Apple. Is he any better than he was when he was with the Giants?
I don't think so. He's not a great player.
Terrible.
No, that's definitely one matchup, and they're going to like their matchup with Alshon no matter who's on him. Right. If it's Eli Apple, great. Yeah, they'll take that in a heartbeat. But even if it's Lattimore, kind of an undersized guy, they'll take Alshon Jeffrey in those 50-50 balls all day. Nick Foles, we've seen he's not he's not shy. He'll throw the ball up to Alshon. So I think, and remember, he had 160 yards in that last game. They like that matchup a lot, and they should. There's a reason to like that.
Yeah, the Saints defense is actually better than a lot of people think. It's one of their better defenses they've had in the last 10 years, maybe going back to even their Super Bowl year. But they have been prone, I remember Ray Didinger talking about earlier this week, they've been prone to that deep ball. So you wonder how much Nelson Aguilar and Alshon Jeffrey can get open and kind of exploit that.
They're such a weird team, though, defensively, because statistically they're awful against the pass and they're great against the run, but really they're somewhere in between. This offense that they have kind of forces you to throw the ball against them. So they're not as good against the run as you think they are, and they're not as bad against the pass as you think they are. Ultimately, it's a pretty good unit, but the Eagles can find ways to exploit them.
The injury report coming out, the last injury report right before they kind of make or break the rosters in this one. No surprise there. Carson Wentz out. Or maybe it is a surprise. Maybe people thought that Doug was doing some kind of magic trick and was going to pop Carson Wentz out of a hat or something. Questionable, you see Sidney Jones on there. Michael Bennett, he's been on this injury report, I think, for the last 5 weeks. There's no concern about him not playing. Same with Jason Peters, exactly. Mike Wallace and Sidney Jones, Doug was asked specifically about those two players today, and he said he wants to see them one more day of practice before he rules them in or out, which is why they're questionable. What are the chances? I mean, you mentioned Sidney Jones got picked on a lot last time around.
That was part of their game plan. Remember, Peter King was embedded with them, and Sean Payton wanted to go after him. Look, if Sidney Jones is back, that's great for some depth, but I just don't think you can change the starters right now. They've been playing too well. Levante Maddox, Rasul Douglas, and Crevon LeBlanc, they've earned the right to play in this game, but having Sidney wouldn't be a bad thing for depth purposes.
I think it was the first play of the game when the Eagles played the Saints in Week 11. Marking ran right at him, and it came out in that Peter King piece that you just referenced in terms of going after 22. That's all Sean Payton wanted to do, was go after 22. They went after him on the first play of the game, and they rattled off, I think, a 25-yard
run. They thought his hamstring wouldn't hold up, and they were right. In that game, he had to leave with an injury. The other one, Mike Wallace, is interesting. Because Shelton Gibson, you'll notice him on that list. He ended up getting hurt, I think, probably in practice today because he popped up on that report. So if he can't go, maybe there's a way they work Mike Wallace. And I don't think he'll have a big role, but yeah, it'd be interesting to see if he can get back on the field.
Maybe one of these surprise stars that could win this game. You never really know who's going to step up. There were some interesting comments today about Cody Parkey. Cody Parkey on the Today Show. He's getting a lot of pub for a guy that cost his team a playoff win. Let's check in with Cody, and then I'm going to get these guys' thoughts on it.
Obviously, I didn't know it was tipped or anything. I just went down, and I thought I hit a pretty good kick, felt good off my foot, and then looking up, and then I saw it hit the upright, and hit the crossbar, and I'm like, surely it'll go in. Unfortunately, bounced towards me, but obviously I'm disappointed, that I let the fans, my teammates, and the whole organization down.
Chicago can be a tough sports town. Have you been surprised by the reaction there? Have you been surprised by the reaction throughout this country to your response to what happened?
Yeah, so I haven't been on social media or anything like that.
Smart man.
Yeah, so a lot of good can come from it and a lot of bad can come from it. But at the same time, I've gotten a lot of positive messages. Like I said earlier, I feel worse than anybody about missing that kick because I wanted to make it more than anybody.
Okay. They were like all laughing, like, oh, isn't that funny? You missed it twice. They hit the crossbar or hit the upright and then the crossbar. He. I don't know. If I'm in Chicago, this would not play real well with me.
He said a lot of good can come from what?
I mean, I hope he was talking about like social media. People have been sending like uplifting messages like, hey, don't hang your head. I guess.
The Today Show had him on. I don't know if it was to try to cheer him up, but
well, you know what? Where's Trayvon Hester? He's going. He's busy right now.
That's very important. Trayvon Hester blocked the field goal.
Exactly.
Trayvon Hester blocked the field goal. He deserves credit for it.
Oh, he absolutely does. But it was funny when that happened. I got a text from a cousin of mine that just said they felt so bad for that boy. They're not a big football fan. They felt so bad for
that little guy.
A friend of mine's wife said, I feel bad for that guy, and I'm laughing at it because I don't feel bad at all. It's part of the game, and we're all sports fans, and we get it. But then you heard Malcolm Jenkins when he was mic'd up. He runs over to the sideline after trash-talking his former teammate Cody Parkey and yelling, hey, come on, Cody, you know we're old friends and that whole thing. And then he goes over to the sideline and he goes, yo, I actually feel really bad. I actually feel bad because I was trash-talking Cody Parkey like you wouldn't believe. And you heard some of it, and then they actually exchanged I love yous after the game. Cody Parkey and Malcolm Jenkins. But Malcolm actually felt bad about it.
That's nice.
I don't know how bad Malcolm felt.
Not
honestly.
really. Like he felt bad for probably egging him on.
Yeah, he would have felt worse if he made that kick.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's true.
no doubt about it. No doubt about it.
There's a great thing that happened on this show on Monday. Every week we have Jason Avant on, and he looks at the game so much more differently than we all look at the game. Obviously, he's a former player, so he sees plays that he knows, and he says, maybe that was a good play, bad play, whatever. So he comes on our show on Monday, and we were talking with him, and he said, hey, I want to talk about that 4th down play that was the touchdown, because it was a sprint right, and it looked like Golden Tate didn't know what he was doing. Wasn't sure of the exact play. Well, lo and behold, Dave Zangaro, you have a piece right now on the My Teams app and on NBCSportsPhiladelphia.com that confirms this. We heard Golden Tate, he was mic'd up and said, yeah, I didn't know. I had to look back because I wasn't exactly sure. And you talked to a couple other players. They were surprised that he was able to make the play, not knowing exactly what it was.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. So the first 2 runs were basically the same play, but they killed to the run. And they were supposed to just run this play, the sprint out, and he expected another run. So that's why he's looking back. He looked back expecting to see Darren Sproles with the ball in his hands, but then it clicked in that split second for him. And that's the experience. I talked to Mike Wallace about it, and he goes, this is why we're in the meetings for, he's been in meeting rooms for 9 years. He knew exactly what to do in that situation. He sees Nick Foles sprinting out, and he goes, oh, it clicks in his head. I got to get open here. The funny thing is, the head fake kind of sold it.
That's what Carson Wentz, I remember,
Carson
said.
Wentz was a big fan of it. And maybe they should start doing that because, it did kind of sell the DB. He kind of paused because Golden Tate looked back. Maybe they should start running it that way.
Yeah, you never know. Maybe that's the new play.
Yeah. And I love Golden Tate admitting it to his teammates, admitting it to Carson Wentz, but while he's in front of reporters in the locker room, he's playing it all cool.
Yeah.
Like he knew
did,
that was exactly what was supposed to happen.
He never said it.
And you were there today when Doug Peterson was doing his press conference. He got asked about Golden Tate, and he said, oh, yeah, I didn't find out that he didn't know the play until he got on the bus. Somebody told him while they were on the bus heading back to the airport.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
I had no clue what was happening.
You give him credit, though. I mean,
That's impressive.
Because he did get confused because they didn't kill it to the run. It was still that play, so we should have known it. But in a split second, to realize what's going on and say, oh, man, I better get open. Because that's a play, if that could have been a disaster. Because there's 2 reads on that play, but there really isn't. I mean, he's the read on that play. Alshon's a pipe dream behind him getting open. It's all about him getting open on that one DB. And if he doesn't, that play is doomed to fail.
That was an interesting thing that Doug also said today. He said that was the play out of the huddle. Yeah. There wasn't an alert. Like one of the things that Golden Tate said was he didn't hear the alert. And apparently that was the call, though.
He couldn't hear anything, I guess.
So the first 2 plays were the same play call, but they killed to the run.
So he thought that they had alerted.
They killed back to the run,
Doesn't matter. It was a touchdown.
It's amazing.
It worked, yeah.
That's the kind of things you have to go your way if you want to continue on in the playoffs.